Hi, I'm Peter Cowan, the Bee Whisperer. We're back at the Good Shepherd Food Bank yard here at the moment in Hamden. And what we had done 11 days ago, I think it was the 11th of June, we set up two forms of single brood chamber management approach. So of these hives over here, I have 8 that were set up immediately as single brood chamber. The brood chamber had been built up to 1 deep. I put the queen excluder on and put the next deep on. Whereas the other 16 are set up in the way I would more normally do it, and that is I've put the first brood chamber was big and ready for a second brood chamber. We've now put the second brood chamber on, and here we are just after the summer equinox, and we're going to shake down the bees from the upper brood chamber to make sure the queen is in the lower brood chamber to move on to single brood chamber management that way. I believe that this will give this yard, this half of the yard here, this 2/3, a slightly bigger workforce, but this yard will have already started filling up the honey super. Because that first brood chamber, in effect, that first deep is the second deep is going to become the first honey super. So we're going to make a little bit of comparison right now. The main objective is put these down to singles, and also to check all of them to make sure we haven't got queen cells and that sort of thing, because that was the big question mark in my mind. Would putting the queen excluder on right away on these first ones have an increased incidence of swarming? So we'll be looking particularly for swarming. I'm keeping an eye on the trees. We're looking for signs of swarming and any differences. I really expect the differences in honey to come in a few weeks' time, but let's start looking at it and see what we can find. So we may as well start with the colonies that already have a single brood chamber. If anything, I know these first two were just a little bit smaller than the rest, but we'll have a quick look, and I hope that they have moved into this nicely, or started to. There's all foundation in this particular case, so this colony is going to be only just getting up into here. In fact, it really isn't. So it's not quite up here yet. And in fact, I'm breaking my golden rule here. You know what I've done here? I have put a super of just foundation. Sometimes you forget these things. This is all just foundation. And I have put that directly over a queen excluder. That is, in my opinion, a big no-no. And so you should never do that. Bees sometimes, most of the time, bees will struggle to draw comb. So if you step back a little bit so I'm talking, and we'll get into the whole thing. Most of the time, bees will struggle to build comb in foundation when it's just foundation, unless there's already drawn comb up there, if you put it above a queen excluder. And so they have, fortunately, this colony was still a little bit on the small side, so I may not have gone too early, or may not have triggered swarming yet, but I'm glad we caught it now, because what I need to do is I need to have drawn comb upstairs to get the bees to go up through that queen excluder better. So we're going to have a quick look and see if there are any signs of swarming here. So the quick way to check that is to take, if you come to over my shoulder, we're looking for queen cells for a start. Now look how full that super is of bees, and yet they weren't in that other brood chamber. And that's because they don't like going through a queen excluder unless we've got drawn comb above it. Now that's great. We do not see any signs of queen cells there. So in all probability, we have not got an issue with swarming on this hive yet. So I'm going to lower this back down I'll take a couple of frames out and we're going to put some drawn comb in that super here. Okay, Sean, you can help me with this. You want to pick up this super and we'll put it up here just for now. So what we have is we have a lot of drawn comb here. So we just place it on top here just so it's easier to work with. We can take a couple of those frames out. Preferably, say, we can take it, I'm going to space them out a little bit. But what I want is a couple of frames of drawn comb. Doesn't matter if there's a bit of brood in it at this stage. This should have been done when I set this all up. Now, this is mostly full of honey. Well, that's okay. I just want to make sure the queen is not on this one. Well, in fact, just to be sure, I'll just shake most of the bees off. So, there's one frame of drawn comb up here. They built everything right out to the edges. Okay, I don't see any brood on here. I'm going to shake these off as well. Making sure there's no queen here. And what I'm going to do is put that up here. And now we've got a couple of frames of drawn comb upstairs. And there's those 2 frames of foundation. We're going to put those in the midst of the brood chamber downstairs. Let's get them built out. And just before we do, we're going to have a quick look. See what the brood looks like. Got a nice brood chamber going there. No signs of queen cells. Nice odor cat brood. One more look at another brood frame. Got young larvae in there. No signs of queen cells. Very good. So this is growing up nicely. Give them a little bit more room down here. No signs of swarming. Thank goodness. Silly mistake. So remember, never put directly on top of your queen excluder. Don't put a super of only drawn comb, because that's where most beginners will have their first swarm if they put a super of plain old foundation right on top of your queen excluder, because for some reason the bees just don't seem to see it as room to expand. Once you've got some drawn comb up there, now the bees will come up through that queen excluder without any problem at all. And when we look at this next time, we're going to find this comb built, that comb built at the very least. Okay, we can close up shop. I forgot to bring my extra equipment, as I said last time. I keep on forgetting, but this will do for now. Let's see if I made the same mistake with this hive. Tell me I have something more than foundation up here. Okay, again, remember these 2 colonies were a little bit smaller than the others. We've got some drawn comb up here. We have bees working it. I don't see a lot going on here yet. They're just ready to get up here. But they are filling up with honey. building a bit of comb. I will move one of the frames of foundation to here. So they're only just getting up into this box. I think we will see most of the rest of the supers colonies be a bit bigger. We'll just check to see that we don't have queen cells here. We'll do the quick check method. There's some queen cups, but no queen cells. So we are good. This colony is still pretty small. It may need some boosting up in due course. So if we find that we've got some colonies that are need a bit of strength taking off them, this is one that could do with it. Because you can see we've only got bees on, say, 5 of those seams, 6 of those seams. This colony has had some sort of delay. But right now I'm not going to go through and analyze every individual colony. What I'm looking to do is get the whole yard ready to go. And then we'll come back and fine-tune smaller colonies like this by boosting them with strength from other colonies. Okay, let's look at what we hope will be a slightly bigger colony. Let's go around this side and we'll continue to work on this pallet at one at a time. I like to smoke the colonies around the hives that I'm working, because if you start off building up alarm pheromone in one hive, the hive next to it also smells that alarm pheromone. It's usually a good idea to smoke the hive next to it to avoid them getting a little bit anxious. Now, we've got more bees in this, but still plenty of room for expansion here. Certainly didn't need to bring a honey super for this one. So have a quick look up here. They're building some foundation out. Got some comb partially drawn up here, so they're working up here. Not a great deal going on here yet. We've got plenty of bees up here, but they're not doing a great deal yet. Let's have a quick, you can see that lower brood chamber is pretty full. They are storing some food down here, though. You see, like the first one, this has got lots of. Look what we see. Capped queen cells. Okay, so this colony is preparing to swarm. So we've got to take some action. So the first decent sized colony, if we ignore these first 2 of the 8, the first colony we've gone into of the 8, where we put the queen excluder on straight away, producing queen cells. 1, 2, 3, 4, of which 3 of them are capped already. We've got some work to do to make sure this doesn't swarm. So what we have to do here is we have to thin things down. And what we'll do to try and stop this swarming, well, we could do a Demary split on it and put the queen into what was going to be the honey super. In fact, that would make some very good sense, wouldn't it?
Can you explain Demary split?
The Demary split, I did a video on the Demary split which goes into much more detail. But basically, what a Demary split on this would be is taking this whole brood chamber and move it upstairs instead, above the queen excluder, and with the exception of one frame of capped brood, which we can put in the lower brood chamber. And the queen goes down here in the lower brood chamber, and then the colony has to provide her with new room down here. She's down here all on her own with very little brood down here, and she's going to build out the brood chamber. This depopulates the brood chamber. Basically, the purpose of a Demary split is depopulating the brood chamber, because part of the thing that stimulates swarming is the crowded nature of the brood chamber. Most of the bees are going to be where the brood is, and if we've moved the brood upstairs, that's going to take most of the bees upstairs with them. Now, some will go down and stay with the queen, and as that expands, the brood chamber will gradually expand below the queen excluder. So, this colony needs action. I need to go through every frame, and I think that's exactly what we're going to do. But what we have to also do is remove all the queen cells from here as well. So, this is going to slow us down a little bit today. Coming off, we're going to have to use a fair amount of smoke, and this hive doesn't look like it's swarmed yet. And what we're going to do, put this super here. We know there's absolutely no brood in here right now. We're going to go through this super frame by frame. Ideally, if we find the queen, she's going to go into another brood. That's just honey. So we're having a quick look for the queen, a quick look for queen cells. If anybody sees queen or queen cells, shout out. But it's full of honey and a bit of pollen. Lots of pollen on this side, a lot of honey, bit of brood just emerging, looking for our queen, who I do not see. It's going back down here. Queen cells, look at that. Now, make sure we can see young brood, because we don't want to take out queen cells if this is an emergency queen cell. Because the way they're scattered around the edge of the brood sometimes gives me the impression that that could be an emergency situation. So before I eliminate these queen cells, I'm going to check to see that we have brood elsewhere. But it could be that somehow, well, it could be that number one, we could have missed a swarm, and the swarm was actually left already, and that would infer why we wouldn't have young brood. Or it could be that we killed the queen. So we want to make sure we've got eggs. Now I see much younger brood here, but see it's down to about 6-day-old larvae. Maybe some younger. Yeah, there's some. Let's see what this side shows us. I got down to about 4-day-old larvae. Looking for eggs. For the queen. I wasn't looking for the queen here. Let's have a quick look for the queen. Problem with beekeeping, you have to keep on thinking on your feet. You go in with a plan and immediately the bees change your plans.
Another queen cell on this side.
Yeah, queen cell on this side too. Okay. We certainly didn't lose a queen more than 3 days ago, because I can see some eggs on the outside edge, which is good. So I suspect we haven't lost the queen. But we're going to have to remove those queen cells. be a great frame to put in our lower brood chamber once we find the queen and take out the queen cells. Those queen cells. Yeah, there's eggs, so we've certainly, well, we'll probably still have our queen in here, so I see no reason, but it's very close as those queen cells are capped, so this swarm could leave any day, so that's why we were coming in now to make sure that we minimize the chances of actually losing the swarm. And I thought this might happen on some of the hives. I hope it's not on a lot of them. There's a lot of room here, so this is the sort of place that we'd expect to find the queen because there's lots of room to lay. More queen cells, emerging brood. Of course, there is a simpler way to deal with this. I'm going to show you. If we don't find the queen this way, I'm going to show you the simpler way to deal with this. It certainly stirs everything up, but we've got to shake these bees around anyway. And it's more or less what we're going to do to the other hives. But basically, you don't have to find the queen. I was looking through here first to make sure at least that we did have one. But now I can see eggs all over the place. This frame is full of eggs. What we can do is simplify the process of finding the queen by not finding her. All we have to do is make sure she ends up in the bottom box. So, we've got 2 more frames to look at, and then we will do the manipulation and then just shake the bees into the bottom box and the job will be done. This is probably the last part of the brood chamber. Yeah, so even though we haven't seen the queen, I'm confident that she is still in this hive. And of course, what a lot of you like that are watching this video, you like to see that somebody who's dealing with bees all the time can't find the queen as well. And believe me, I struggle to find the queen on some days, just like a beginner. So here's an example. I've just been through the whole colony looking for the queen. Rather than going through in detail looking again, we're going to go through the alternative method of transferring a queen. We know there's not a queen in here because there's a queen excluder down here. So we are going to take this frame of bees, this frame here, it's going to go back here. We're going to take a frame of capped brood, which is what we were looking for before. And if I'm right, I think this may have been capped brood, but no, that was not. Okay, plenty of emerging brood here. Just looking one more time for the queen on this frame. Doesn't matter really. We're going to check that there's no queen cells here. So I don't see any queen cells. Double check it again. So this is going to go in here. Our aim is to make this now the brood chamber. So what we're going to do is I'm going to borrow a telescopic cover off the hive. I'm going to borrow this just to make life easier. All of this is going up here. This super is now going to go in its place. And Sean, would you be so good as to get one of those empty supers from the truck, please? We're going to use that like a funnel. So, we now have a frame of brood here, a super which was going to be the honey super, but is now, we're changing our tack, we're turning this into a Demary split. So we have one frame down here. We have to take some action because we see this place, this is full of queen cells, and the Demary split is a great way to take care of swarming activity. So what we, and actually Sean, I need the other empty super as well, come to think of it. So we're just going to go through here. Our purpose now, we don't need to find the queen. If we find her, great, we don't have to shake as many bees off. But now all we have to do, if we don't see the queen from a quick glimpse like this, I'm just going to shake the bees off, make sure there's no queen cells, and this will become our upper brood chamber.
So the empty super is just for a funnel effect.
Just for a funnel. This is just going to be used to make sure the bees end up in the box rather than all over the outside, because the queen might end up all over the outside. Okay, this one is full of queen cells. Having a quick look for the queen, because I'd rather not shake her down, but I think I just saw her. Did I just see her? No, I saw it right in the middle of the other side. My eyes are playing tricks on me. Nope, I don't see the queen. When you get a glimpse and you think, oh, I just saw it, and no, that's not her. So we shake the bees off. We can now see the queen cells really well. These are all swarm cells, which are getting very close to emerging. But we're taking them out. Uh-oh. Damn. We have one that has emerged.
We may have lost this swarm, it's possible.
Well, we'll carry on with... Anyway, we'll carry on. Queen cells. Taking the queen cells out. Damn. We've got at least 2 virgin queens running around in here. Nuts. I bet there's a queen ready to emerge here as well. No. Okay, we may have missed the boat because we've got at least 2 virgin queens running around here. That really sucks. Okay, we'll still go ahead with the same plan as if the queen's being shaken down here. One way or another, we're going to end up with a queen. It could be that she's anywhere though. Now, I don't think the swarm has left sometimes, but sometimes you have multiple queens in a hive. But that's neither here nor there. Shake it out. No queen cell. As I say, our plans keep on having to change because things keep on being a little different. So here we have one messy situation in terms of taking that out because I just find that gets in the way. Queen cell. Well, and here's a queen, here's a virgin queen right here. That's a brand new queen that's emerged. Either way, what's going to happen is if our other queen hasn't left yet, they're going to fight. This is probably going to be the victor. She's going downstairs anyway. We're cutting out the remainder of the queen cells. At least it minimizes the chance of a secondary swarm as well. And we're still going to have the benefit of all this brood emerging. Let's see if we find another virgin running around.
Can you define secondary swarm?
Well, a secondary swarm is where you have a second swarm after the first one. Now, and what we don't want to do is have a second one. And sometimes you get a tertiary swarm, which means a third swarm. That's where hives are really strong. Now, the fact that we didn't see the original queen doesn't necessarily mean that she's gone, but it probably does. So we may have just missed out. Really, to stop swarming, in this particular case, we really needed to check about 1 week after doing this manipulation, but the original manipulation. Honey.
So you feel this hive has already swarmed?
Chance that it might make it probably has already swarmed. Yeah. Now, just to make sure all the bees are in. So now we know that what queens we have are in this single brood chamber here, with one frame of brood in it. And we're going to put a queen excluder on here to make sure that she stays put. Now, virgins can sometimes get through these, but she should be pretty much confined to quarters. So, the brood is here. So this is going to go back on. And the nurse bees will go back up through the queen excluder and take care of that brood just like normal. But we know now that there's no queen cells in here. So there's no further swarming activity taking place. Assuming there was some in the first place. If the old queen is still in here, which I doubt now, they will fight out between the two, and the new virgin will be laying in about 10 days' time. So, this is strike one against going straight to a single brood chamber management from the brood chamber that was full, putting a queen excluder on to the next brood chamber and confining it without giving it the opportunity to grow. That's strike one against that idea, at any rate. Let's move on to the next one. I'm get busy with the weed whacker here today. Boy, I hope it doesn't take us this long to go through all the hives. Now, this is more like what I was expecting to see. Given the difference between this and this in the upper brood chamber, this tells me this is a lot more bees than was in that one. That does infer to me that we missed a swarm from this hive, as does seeing the virgin queen running around. This is more like what I was hoping to see. Upper brood chamber, more or less half full of bees, and they're very busy at that. This frame of foundation out here, very much getting built out, and I could see lots of honey being stored in these other frames as well. So building on these ones, these combs that were drawn out, getting filled with honey. Okay, so this is more like I was expecting to see. Hopefully we don't see any queen cells down below. And of course it may have been that when we set this up for single brood chamber management, it could have been that the decision had already been made for the swarming for this hive here, because those queen cells to have emerged, in fact that is the case. It was only 11 days ago we did this, set this up. We've had queen cells built and emerged in that time. That means they were 16 days old, which means that the decision to swarm had been taken 4 days before we even did the manipulation at the very least. So it's not a strike against this, it's a strike against having not checked for queen cells before we set it up in the first place, because there were at least some queen cells being built before we put that second super on. So it means that we were late getting our second super on. This looks pretty full. Let's hope we have no queen cells. I have a feeling I see some queen cups at the very least. Anything in these? Nothing in that. Nothing in that. Nothing in those. Good. Good. Okay. They aren't. They're just queen cups. Praise the Lord. We don't have to do it on every single hive. Okay. So we don't appear to have any queen cells. Queen cups, not queen cells. Hopefully this manipulation was done just in time. That's great. Closing that back up. Put our queen excluder back on. And moving on. We now have, so this whole super is full. We are, let's see. In terms of occupation of this hive, we are certainly the middle 4 or 5 are being worked on. That's great. By next week, we'd be ready for a honey super on here, because the population will have grown substantially. Okay, let's move on to number 4 out of 24. This might be a long video. We may not video all these hive manipulations, or might break it up into 6. Let's see. Okay, good. Reasonable population of bees up here. Doesn't look quite as advanced as this one. Looks like it's in between these last 2 hives. Bees occupying 4 or 5 of the frames here. Some honey in here. Rather than taking the queen excluder off, let's look under here. Thank you. Plenty of bees in here still. See some queen cups. How well developed are they? Oh, nuts. Royal jelly. We're in the early stages of queen cell development here. So, this manipulation has not stopped the urge to swarm in this hive. So we've got some queen cells developing here, so we have to take action with this hive as well. So we'll probably do the Demary split on this one too. So we will away. Get them off here. Okay, so we have to take action here to take out the queen cells. So let's see if we can speed up that process. Sean, would you mind getting that super again, please? What we're going to do is, thank you. We're going to take this upper section, which was the honey, was going to be just honey, and it's becoming a brood chamber. We're going to take one of these frames out, give the queen somewhere to go. We're going to make a funnel. We're going to go through this super, shake all the bees down to make sure we can get up. Sorry? And the other one there, thank you. Okay, so we're going to do the fast version. We're not going to go through every frame looking for the queen first. We're just going to look for the queen as we go and shake them out as we go. There we go. So, just a quick look to see if we see the queen. Cut out any queen cups. Put that there. Okay, so that was a much faster version of it. We have the queen is down here. We didn't find her. We just shook her, made sure all the bees were down in this bottom box before we put the queen excluder on. So by default, she's in here. We've got one frame of cap brood. The rest is empty. About 4 frames of drawn comb and about 5 frames of foundation. That will be built out, and the brood up here will become the first honey super. As they emerge in 3 weeks, 24 days if you include the drones, there will be no brood left upstairs. This will be a super full of honey. And this colony shall go unchecked, but in effect, we've effectively now given them 2 brood chambers. So, let's go on to the next one. We may just fast forward these, but I'm very pleased that the bees haven't get all kicked off on us, especially given this is a yard full of Italians. Very temperamental bees, you know. Okay, they're occupying this space quite nicely. Didn't really need to take that off, of course. Check to see queen cell situation. Less big brood chamber, nothing in those. We've got brood in there, but not a huge hive. I'd be very disappointed if this one had wanted to swarm. This year is one of those weird years though. We have colonies which, even though they've got plenty of room, have been wanting to swarm. When we had Jennifer Lund here with me last week, she said the same thing is happening all over the state. Lots of colonies wanting to swarm, even though they appear to have plenty of room. It's just been one of those seasons. So if you've had a swarm this year, even though you took all the right precautions, don't fret, you're in good company. It's happened to a lot of folks this year.
Is there an explanation of why?
Is there an explanation to why? Not really. We can only assume it may have been something like the weather. Just making sure there's the queen in there, because that's where that super was. Okay, let's come around this side. There's 2 more to go for this style. Just want to double check something here as well. Nice and full of bees. That's good. They're busy up here. Good amount of honey in here already. Full of bees right across the top. Just queen cups. Pick up this wax afterwards. Okay. Nice, look at this nice white comb being built here. Look at it from this side and the sun shining out. You see the white comb being built there. Busy. Busy, busy, busy. Like to see white comb in a honey flower. Okay. Ooh, there's some honey in there. Bees occupying right across. Good. Come on, no queen cells. No queen cells. Oh, that's still got honey in it already still. Young girls, Daddy doesn't want to see any queen cells. And we just have a few cups here. Cup there, cup there. No queen cells. Wonderful. Okay. Next, we're going to go into the hives, which were anticipated to be the bulk of the work. So, oh, there's still honey in here. Actually, given the amount of honey in here, I hope they move some of this honey upstairs, because there is a lot of honey in here. Let's see. Okay, that is the first 8 done. Let's start looking at these ones. Now with these, the queen was put upstairs. So what we're anticipating here is that queen, in all probability, is going to be laying in the newly made space upstairs. Now, we are going to therefore make sure the queen is down below. It's the objective. And look how well they've done there. Now there's being the queen having room for brood upstairs, there's a tendency for more bees to be up here than there is just to produce honey. So this is good. Interesting.
So right now the queen is in the upper super.
I would assume so. She could be anywhere in both supers. But given that we've just given them a lot of empty room upstairs, that's where she can lay more quickly. Chances are she's upstairs at about this stage. Now, Sean, we're going to also need some queen excluders. I think there's one or two around, but if you bring some of those queen excluders, that would be very helpful. Thank you. They're building the comb right out to here. So we're looking for the queen briefly, but the simplest thing to do again is just to shake all the bees downstairs. In fact, let's do that because we want to be quick, but we're going to look as we go. So to do this manipulation relatively quickly, first of all, I'm going to take this super off. We're going to have a quick look. Do we see any queen cells? I see no queen cell. I see some queen cups here. No queen cells there. If the hive was going to swarm, the chances of them having the chances of them not having queen cells here would be pretty low. This is the sort of place they would be building those queen cells. So what we're going to do is again put a funnel on the top of the chamber. I suppose for completeness we should have a quick look down here. Let's see if we have any queen cells downstairs. I see no queen cells downstairs either, which kind of confirms what we saw upstairs. I like getting rid of some drone brood here. Okay, so this is getting closed up again. Now the queen could very well be downstairs, but just in case she's upstairs, we're going to make sure she gets moved. So this is a temporary funnel again. We're going to take our upstairs frames and shake the bees out. Do you have another empty box, please? We do with that other empty box here. Whoops, that was a lot. Okay, so look, have a quick look for the queen, because once we find the queen, the job is done. I'm just transferring the bees across. I still expect to find the queen on frames like this, where there's lots of room for her to lay eggs, and she has been laying lots of eggs on this frame. Full of eggs and young larvae. We don't have to see her, but it's good to see her, especially if we're shooting videos. I don't see her, but being sure she's not on here, shake it a little harder. These were drawn out frames, so she could be. Look at the brood that this is the first frame she went up with. Got some cat brood up here. So upstairs we've got at least one. There's two frames of brood. Frames full of larvae and eggs. Another frame of brood. Beautiful. So this is our fourth frame with brood on it. Fifth frame of brood. So this way, this hive, there's the queen on the left. Right there. And this way we know. Now I don't tend to pick up the queen much, so still there. Now she's in there. Now we know the queen is downstairs. So we've got 5 frames of brood here. We don't have to shake the bees off this one. No brood on that one. Basically, what we now can do, we'll smoke, make sure everybody's downstairs. We can put the queen excluder on here now, Sean. Now we know the queen is downstairs. Want to grab this wax, Sean? Queen excluder, go on. Thank you. Go back up here. The remainder here. And the colony is done. Did we have an inner cover? It doesn't look like we have an inner cover on this hive. So, what we have done here, we've gone from a double brood chamber hive down to the single brood chamber hive. This upstairs of this, we could assume that the downstairs had a fair amount of brood in, similar to the others, but we know we had 5 frames of brood up here. And so, now that queen was able to lay at an unlimited rate for the last 12, 10, 11 days. And so she's really filled up this space with brood. Now she's forced down below. She's confined to that. But she's had that opportunity to really let rip, to really lay as fast as she possibly could. The queens in those hives did not get that opportunity. They were restricted to 10 frames, which are already partially filled. So I suspect the populations of these hives, I could see a difference just from the first one. See if this is anything like representative, we'll see. Let's look here. Load the bees up there. Have a quick look for queen cells. We see no queen cells. I'm going to assume that there's no queen cells down there to speed things along. So this is going to go here. This will be our funnel. Our new super. So, queen could be here, she could be here. We're going to quickly go through. This colony is not quite as big as the other one. You can already see that. We've got some of this comb built, but they've been working on this one. The reason we're checking for the queen is that we can speed things up by just stopping. As soon as if we found the queen right here, we don't have to shake anymore. down, we've already got her in. Once we know we've got her downstairs, the job is done, because we're not looking for queen cells either. I might give this hand to you, Sean, to put in there. That's one frame of brood, here's the second frame of brood. More complete frames, okay. And here's our queen right here, taking advantage of this lovely space. So she's going in. She came out that time. Okay. Now that we know the queen is in, blow a bit of smoke, make sure everybody retreats down in. Get a queen excluder on. We did put a queen excluder on that, thank goodness. What's this? Remnants of the mic tree. Okay, that super can come over. In fact, just keep it a second first one. We'll just put this one straight back on. Okay. Thank you. There's lots of these in it. Can you just hand them to me in reverse order? So this one had, I think it was 3 or 4 frames of brood. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 frames of brood compared to 5 on the other. So this is a little bit less big than this one, but not bad at all. No swarming, no signs of swarming, so good. Foil covers here. Close up. And that's much more efficient. That's probably why I was doing it last year. I followed Ian Stepler's example, and it's clearly more effective this way. Let's go for the next one. Yep. Take that stuff off and put. Okay, so we're going to carry on with this, whether we get it done today or not, I don't know, but I've got another 12 colonies to go through. We may record a bit of it if it's of interest, and we'll record some at the end, but we'll tell you what conclusions we come to at the end of the session. Well, we have completed the reduction from double brood chamber to single brood chamber now. And we found what I think is inferring some significant differences. In these hives, these 16 hives that we had, the queen have the free reign of the 2 deep brood chambers. There was not a single queen cell. That was really good news. In the 8 hives where we had the queen restricted to a single brood chamber, now the first one here had queen cells, which by evidence of their age were clearly already in starting before we started, but there were 2 others that had queen cells. So of that 8, let's say of 7, we had 2 with queen cells. Of 16, we had none with queen cells. So hopefully giving the queen the full opportunity to fully extend her ability to lay eggs has paid significant differences. So it was a lot faster going through these hives here. So now that we're done, we can look forward to some honey production, and we'll see how it goes. We'll probably be back here next week with some honey supers for some of these hives, and maybe even do a little equalization. I'm Peter Cowan, the Bee Whisperer. See you next time.